There were 3 glasses on the table. That is what you keep returning to, isn't it? Not the words that were spoken. Not the door that slammed or the engine that turned over in the driveway while you stood at the window with your hand pressed against the glass like you could still feel the heat of the argument radiating through the walls. You keep returning to the 3 glasses. 2 were empty. One was half full of something that had gone flat while the conversation curdled into confession. 3 glasses. 3 places set at a table that was only ever meant for 2. And now the third chair is empty, kicked back, scuffed against the floorboards by someone who left in such a hurry they forgot to take their shame with them. They left it there for you to clean up, as always. You are Virgo. You notice the details that other people train themselves to overlook. The way a voice cracks exactly half a second before the lie falls out. The way someone's eyes slide to the left when they are reconstructing a version of events that makes them the hero or the victim or the confused bystander in their own life. You have been cataloging the inconsistencies for longer than you want to admit. The receipts in your memory are immaculate. The timestamps are precise. You have known in that meticulous, unflinching part of yourself that you were not the only one sitting in the heart of this connection. You sensed the triangle before you ever saw the geometry drawn out in front of you. You felt the tilt in the axis, the way affection became a currency that was being spent in 2 directions at once. And still you stayed, because that is what you do. You stay, you mend. You organize the chaos into something that resembles order, even when the chaos is chewing through your own foundations. But tonight, the triangle is broken, shattered. Not by your hand, though you have been blamed for holding the mirror too close. Not by your voice, though you have been accused of asking questions that cut too deep. It broke because a structure built on secrecy cannot hold its own weight forever. 3 points require tension to stand. Remove the lie, and the whole architecture collapses into dust. And someone is heartbroken tonight. Someone is sitting in the dark with the ruins of their own making scattered around their feet, finally understanding that the game they thought they were playing had real casualties. That someone is not you, or at least not anymore. I need you to hear me clearly because I am not going to whisper this. I am going to say it in the same tone that the truth uses when it finally arrives after being kept waiting in the hallway for months. The third party did not win. There is no winner in a war where the battlefield was your own trust. The person who entered this connection from the side, who accepted the stolen hours and the hidden messages and the careful compartmentalization of a heart that was supposed to belong to only one person, they are not walking away with a prize. They are walking away with the hollow understanding that what they were given was never whole to begin with. You cannot steal what is already divided. You cannot build a kingdom on someone else's borrowed foundation. And the person who tried to love 2 people at once is discovering with the brutal clarity that only comes at 3 in the morning when the distractions have all gone to sleep that they have managed to lose both. Not because you chased them away, not because the third party demanded too much, but because a heart that is split down the middle eventually bleeds out from both wounds. You have been carrying a weight that was never yours to carry. The suspicion that you were too demanding. The fear that your standards were impossibly high. That your need for honesty was somehow a flaw. That your intuition, the one that kept catching the inconsistencies like a net catches stones, was just anxiety dressed up as insight. Let me be the one to tell you that your intuition was not broken. Your intuition was the only thing in this entire situation that was working exactly as it should. Every time you felt that cold drop in your stomach when they came home smelling like a story they hadn't rehearsed yet, every time you noticed the way their phone became a part of their hand, a new organ they could not survive without, every time you asked a simple question and watched them build a fortress of unnecessary detail around the answer, your body knew. Your nervous system kept the score. And you kept overriding it because love, real love, demands that we give the benefit of the doubt. Until the doubt becomes a canyon we can no longer cross. The triangle broke because the truth finally grew heavier than the lie. And the truth is this: your person was not confused. They were not torn between two great loves, paralyzed by the depth of their own feelings. That is the story they told themselves, and it is the story they tried to sell you. And for a while, you bought it because buying it was less painful than admitting you had invested your soul into a partnership where the other person treated commitment like a menu they could order from selectively. They were not confused. They were greedy. They wanted the stability you provided and the thrill the third person provided. They wanted the home you built and the escape the other person represented. They wanted to be the reliable partner and the reckless lover. And they believed, with the arrogance of someone who has never truly had to face the consequences of their own appetite, that they could be both indefinitely. But energy does not work that way. The universe keeps a stricter accounting than they realized, and the bill has finally come due. Now let me tell you about the heartbreak, because this is where the story turns in a direction you may not expect. The deepest heartbreak tonight is not yours. You have already cried the tears that turned your pillow into an ocean. You have already sat in the shower until the water ran cold, trying to wash away the feeling of their hands on someone else's skin that your mind kept painting in vivid, unwanted detail. You have already mourned. You have already begun the slow, excruciating work of separating your identity from the version of yourself that existed inside their orbit. Your grief is not fresh, it is weathered. It has been walking beside you for longer than you let yourself acknowledge, because you were too busy trying to fix what was actively breaking you. Your heartbreak is old. It is familiar. It is the house guest who overstayed their welcome and started rearranging your furniture while you slept. The fresh heartbreak, the one that is happening right now in real time, belongs to the person who thought they could control the narrative. They are sitting somewhere, maybe in the space they thought they had secured, maybe in the silence of a room that suddenly feels too large, and they are understanding for the first time that their carefully constructed house of cards did not just fall, it was never structurally sound to begin with. They are realizing that the third person, the one they risked everything for, was not the soulmate they imagined. They were a mirror, a reflection of their own avoidance, their own fear of depth, their own inability to show up fully for the kind of love you were offering. The third person represented escape, not destiny. And now that the escape has become the cage, now that the excitement has curdled into the mundane reality of another human being with their own needs and their own expectations and their own ultimatums, your person is seeing the contrast with devastating clarity. They are seeing what they threw away, and the seeing is breaking them. You need to understand the mechanics of what is happening inside them right now. Not because you need to rush to their rescue, please. Do not do that. But because understanding is the key that turns in the lock of your own freedom, they are experiencing a collapse of the self. the version of themselves that they presented to the world, the charming, capable, slightly overwhelmed romantic who was just trying to follow their heart. That character has been exposed as a fiction, and they are left with the raw, unedited truth of who they have been. Someone who chose comfort over courage, someone who chose the path of least resistance over the path of integrity, someone who looked at the most devoted, loyal, genuine love they had ever been offered and treated it like an option rather than a gift. That realization is not a gentle rain, it is a landslide. It is the ground beneath their feet turning to liquid and swallowing the entire landscape they thought they understood. They are heartbroken because they have finally met their own shadow, and the shadow is holding up a photograph of you, smiling, trusting, building a future that they were too short-sighted to protect. The shadow is asking them, in a voice that sounds disturbingly like yours, was it worth it? And for the first time, they do not have an answer that satisfies even their own desperate need for self-forgiveness. They are replaying the moments you do not even know about. The times they could have chosen you and chose the other instead. The times they lied by omission, by deflection, by the careful editing of stories that were never fully true. They are seeing the way they diminished your light to make their own darkness feel less overwhelming. They are seeing the way they took your natural generosity, your willingness to see the best in them, and used it as a license to take more than they ever gave back. And the seeing is a kind of death, not the beautiful, transformative death of the old self that makes room for something better. This is the death of a delusion, and delusions die screaming. The third person is heartbroken too, though in a different register. They are discovering that the love they thought they had won was never fully available to be won. They are realizing that the promises made in the fever of secrecy were built on a foundation of sand, and that the person who made those promises to them is the same person who made deeper, older promises to you that they were breaking in the same breath. The third person is learning the lesson that every side character in a triangle eventually learns. If they will cheat with you, they will cheat on you. The exception is not the rule. The stolen moments feel less romantic when they are no longer stolen, when they become the mundane texture of a relationship that has to survive in daylight. The third person is looking at your person right now and seeing the cracks that you saw months ago, but unlike you, they do not have the history, the loyalty, the earned patience to overlook them. They have only the bitterness of realizing they were a distraction, not a destination, and that bitterness is curdling into resentment as we speak. So the triangle is broken, all 3 points are bleeding, but here is the difference, and I need you to feel this in your bones. You are the only one who was bleeding honestly. You were the only one whose pain was clean. The other two are bleeding from self-inflicted wounds, from the shrapnel of their own choices, from the collapse of a structure they built together while you were busy trying to hold up the roof with your own 2 hands. Your pain was the pain of betrayal, which is the pain of love that was not reciprocated with equal integrity. Their pain is the pain of exposure, which is the pain of a mask finally falling away. These are not equivalent. Do not let anyone, especially not the voice in your own head that still wants to be fair to people who were not fair to you, convince you that all suffering is the same. It is not. Your suffering was the cost of their cowardice. And now that the bill has been presented, they are discovering that the interest on cowardice is far higher than they anticipated. I want to talk about what happens to you now, because this is the part that matters more than any analysis of their regret or their panic or their belated, desperate realization that they made the worst mistake of their life. You are being released not gently, not with a bow and a polite exit. You are being kicked out of the triangle by the sheer force of its own collapse, and the ground outside is hard, and the air is cold, and you will stumble before you walk, but you are free. The geometry that was suffocating you has been destroyed. The angles that were always tilted against you have been shattered. You no longer have to share space in someone's heart that was never big enough for two. You no longer have to compete with a ghost, or a fantasy, or a carefully curated alternative that only existed because your person was too afraid to grow up and show up for what was real. This freedom will not feel like freedom at first. It will feel like abandonment. It will feel like failure. It will feel like the cruelest joke the universe has ever played, because you gave everything and it was not enough, and now you are standing in the wreckage with nothing but your own integrity and a future that looks terrifyingly blank. But I need you to understand that blankness is not emptiness. It is space. It is the first time in months, maybe years, that you have had room to expand without bumping up against the edges of someone else's deception. It is the first time your intuition can rest, because it no longer has to work overtime translating a language that was designed to confuse you. It is the first time your energy is entirely your own, not leaking out through the cracks of a relationship that was draining you faster than you could replenish yourself. You are going to go through a period of anger that will frighten you with its heat. You are not used to letting yourself be angry. You are used to being reasonable, to finding the logical explanation, to understanding the other person's perspective, until you have talked yourself out of your own righteous fury. But this anger is not destructive. It is diagnostic. It is your soul's immune system finally recognizing the infection and mounting a response. Let it burn. Let it clear out the debris. Let it singe the edges of the memories you have been clutching like talismans. The anger is not who you are. It is what is passing through you on its way out. And on the other side of it, you will find a clarity that is sharper than anything you have ever known. You will see the entire timeline of the triangle with the detachment of an architect looking at blueprints, and you will understand exactly where the supports failed, exactly where the weight was distributed unfairly, exactly where you were carrying a load that should have been shared, or better yet, never placed on your shoulders at all. They will try to come back. I need you to know this so you are not caught off guard when it happens. The heartbreak they are experiencing right now is making them desperate. They are feeling the full weight of your absence, and for the first time, they are understanding that absence not as a temporary inconvenience, but as a permanent condition they may have created. They will reach out. Maybe not today, maybe not this week. But the moment will come when their regret outweighs their pride, when the silence of their own life becomes so loud they cannot sleep through it, when they see something that reminds them of you and the memory hits them like a physical blow. They will send a message, or they will show up where you are, or they will find a way to put their name in front of your eyes, hoping that the old habit of loving them will override the new knowledge of who they really are. When this happens, I need you to remember what I am telling you now. They are not coming back because they have changed. They are coming back because they are in pain. And pain is a terrible reason to reopen a door you had to deadbolt from the inside. They have not done the work. They have not faced the mirror long enough to become someone different. They are simply feeling the consequences of their actions, and their instinct, the same self-serving instinct that allowed them to build a triangle in the first place, is to return to the place where they were most thoroughly loved and ask for refuge. You are the home they want to crawl back to after burning down every room. But you are not a shelter for arsonists. You are not a rehabilitation center for people who destroyed what you built and now want to admire the ruins from the safety of your port. If you let them back in now, the triangle will rebuild itself. It may not look the same. The third person may be gone, replaced by a new distraction, a new escape, a new reason why they cannot fully commit to the depth you require. But the geometry will be the same. 3 points. You, them, and whatever they are running from inside themselves. And you will find yourself right back in the position of being the stable one, the understanding one, the one who waits while they figure out whether they are capable of the love you deserve. Do not do it. Not because you need to punish them, not because revenge is noble, but because your soul has already spent enough time in a configuration that was shrinking it. You need the space to become who you are without the gravitational pull of their inconsistency dragging you back into orbit. There is a karmic dimension to this that I need you to understand because it will help you make sense of the cruelty you have endured. You did not stumble into this triangle by accident. You were not unlucky, though it feels that way. You were placed in this configuration because there was a lesson your soul needed to learn about its own worth. You needed to see, with your own eyes and your own breaking heart, what happens when you love someone more than you love yourself. You needed to feel the specific, exquisite pain of being second choice in your own first choice relationship so that you would never, ever accept that position again. The universe does not waste our suffering. It uses it as a chisel. And this experience has been carving you into someone who will recognize the warning signs before the foundation is even poured. You will never again mistake anxiety for butterflies. You will never again confuse someone's inconsistency with mystery. You will never again apologize for needing the basic, non-negotiable minimum of loyalty and transparency. This is your graduation. It is a brutal one. The diploma is written in tears and sleepless nights and the specific loneliness of realizing you were alone in a relationship long before it officially ended. But you are graduating nonetheless. And the person you are becoming on the other side of this is someone who will not tolerate a triangle, not because you are suspicious or damaged, but because you finally understand that your love is too vast to be folded into a shape that was never designed to hold it. The third person will fade, not immediately. There will be moments when you stalk their social media, when you compare yourself, when you wonder if they were prettier, funnier, easier to love. Stop. They were not the prize. They were the proof that your person was broken long before they met either of you. They were the symptom, not the disease, and their fate is their own. They will either learn the same lesson you are learning, or they will spend their life collecting triangles, each one collapsing under the weight of their own participation, each one leaving them with less and less of themselves until they are nothing but a series of entrances and exits with no center to hold them. That is not your concern. Your concern is the center you are rebuilding. Your own center, the place where your worth lives, undiminished by anyone's inability to see it. I want to speak to the part of you that is still hoping. I know she is there. The part that believes, against all evidence and against your own better judgment, that if they just understood how much they hurt you, they would transform into the person you needed them to be. I need you to hear this with the same gentleness I would use to lift a wounded animal out of a trap. They knew exactly how much they were hurting you. They knew every time they chose the lie over the truth, every time they let you question your own sanity rather than admit their own duplicity, every time they watched you shrink yourself to make room for their chaos, they knew. And they chose their own comfort over your peace, again and again, until the choosing became a habit so ingrained they no longer noticed the cost to you. Understanding this is not cynicism. It is the end of a delusion that was keeping you chained to a hope that was never going to be fulfilled by the person who created the disappointment in the first place. Your soulmate is not the one who broke the triangle and broke your heart. Your soulmate is the one who would never have built a triangle to begin with. And that person is still out there being prepared by their own journey, their own lessons, their own encounters with the wrong people that are teaching them how to recognize the right one when she finally appears. But you cannot meet them while you are still standing in the rubble, holding a blueprint for a house that was never going to stand. You have to clear the land. You have to sweep away the broken glass and the burned promises and the ghost of a future that was never going to arrive. You have to make room, and making room hurts. It hurts because it feels like letting go of the last piece of hope, but it is not hope you are letting go of. It is a fantasy, and fantasies are beautiful, but they cannot keep you warm at night. They cannot show up for you when you are sick. They cannot build a life with you, brick by honest brick. The triangle is broken. Let it stay broken. Do not reach for the glue. Do not try to file down the sharp edges so that you can handle the pieces without bleeding. Let the pieces lie where they fell. Step over them. Walk on. The cut on your foot will heal, and the scar will be a map that leads you away from ever accepting so little again. Someone is heartbroken tonight. And for the first time in this entire saga, that someone is not you. Not in the way that matters. You are not heartbroken. You are heart shattered, which is different. A broken heart can be patched with apologies and promises and the familiar comfort of returning to what you know. A shattered heart has no choice but to be rebuilt entirely, and the heart that is rebuilt after a truth this devastating is a heart that is armored in wisdom. It is a heart that beats more slowly, more deliberately, that does not open its doors to just anyone with a sad story and a handsome face. It is a heart that has learned to interview its guests before offering them a room. You are going to be tempted in the weeks and months to come to contact them, to ask the questions you never got answers to demand the closure they are not capable of giving you. Because closure is not something another person hands you. It is something you build from the wreckage they left behind. Every time you feel that urge, I want you to remember the 3 glasses on the table. 2 empty, 1 half full of something flat. Remember that you were never meant to be one of 3. You were never meant to share the air in a room that was supposed to be a sanctuary. Remember the way your own body tried to warn you. The sleepless nights, the tight chest, the feeling of slowly disappearing even while you were still physically present. Your body was keeping the truth for you, holding it in trust until your mind was ready to receive it. Trust your body now. It knows the way out of this. The person who broke the triangle will try to rewrite the story. They will tell mutual friends that they were overwhelmed, that they were confused, that they were following their heart in a messy human way. They will paint themselves as the victim of a situation that was too complicated, too intense, too much for any one person to navigate cleanly. Do not engage with this narrative. You do not need to correct it. You do not need to defend your version to people who were not there, who did not feel the specific temperature of the betrayal, who did not watch their own future dissolve in real time while someone they loved made eye contact and lied. The truth does not need your protection. It has its own gravity. And eventually, it pulls every lie into its orbit and crushes it. Your only job is to walk away from the crash site with your integrity intact and your head held high. There is abundance waiting for you on the other side of this clearing. Not just romantic abundance, though that will come, but the abundance of a life that is entirely your own design. A life where your energy is not being siphoned off to fuel someone else's indecision. A life where your bed is not haunted by the ghost of a third person you never met but felt in every cold inch of the mattress. A life where your trust, once given, is met with the same ferocity of loyalty that you bring to the table. This abundance is not a fantasy. It is a consequence. It is what happens when a person finally decides that their own peace is non-negotiable, that their own worth is not up for debate, that their own heart is a temple and not a waiting room. The heartbreak that is echoing through the triangle tonight is the sound of a lesson being learned. Let it echo. Do not run toward it to soften the blow. Do not offer comfort to the person who comforted themselves in someone else's arms while you were home alone, wondering where they were. Let them sit with the sound. Let them learn what you have already learned, that love without integrity is just attachment. Wearing a costume, that connection without loyalty is just loneliness. Performing a duet, that a triangle is the weakest shape in geometry because it requires tension to exist. And tension is not a foundation, it is a fracture waiting to happen. You are Virgo. You heal slowly because you heal thoroughly. You do not slap a bandage on a wound and call it fixed. You clean it, you stitch it, you watch it scar, and then you use that scar tissue as proof of your own resilience. This scar will be no different. It will be a mark that says, I survived the geometry of deceit, and I emerged with my boundaries intact, my standards higher, and my heart finally closed to anyone who treats it like an option. Walk away from the table. Leave the glasses where they fell. Do not wash them. Do not save a seat. The meal is over. The guests have shown you exactly who they are. And you, my love, are not a hostess for people who come to feast on your devotion and leave you with the dishes. The door is open. The night air is cold, but it is honest. Step through it. Do not look back to see if they are watching. They are, but their eyes are no longer your concern. Your concern is the road ahead, the one that leads away from triangles and toward the circle of a love that holds you completely, without corners, without shadows, without anyone standing just outside the light, waiting for their turn. Go now. The rest of your life is not going to wait while you mourn a version of someone who never existed in the first place.